Hey everybody, welcome back to part two of We Answer All of Our Reader and Viewer Questions. Jim Cirile here from Coverage Inc. with Tanya Klein and Jeri Klein. I am not going to say the Klein sisters because that's lame and old and you're not sisters. So, how you guys doing?
And not factual, yes.
What's up, Jeri? How are you today?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing okay.
Good.
So you've been collating this list here. What have you got
Yes.
for us today?
We got some more questions. Okay. First one. Zig Monster 5 asks, I'm pretty confident my script is in good shape now. I was a semifinalist in the Page Awards 2025 and just got a consider from another coverage company, but I really have no idea how to get it out there and find representation. It's an action comedy, if that helps.
Okay. Congratulations. And action comedies, good genre right now because they've made a comeback. They were gone for about 20 years. However, the streamers have discovered them, so it's a very marketable genre. So there are several ways you can get your script out there. One would be to pitch to people. I mean, there are several companies that do live pitches like Stage 32 or Roadmap Writers. Caveat here being is do your research, do your research, do your research. And the reason for that is that make sure that the people that you are pitching to are actually there because they are looking for a material and they're looking for writers. Very often, people will just take these pitches because it's extra money for them and they're not necessarily there to actually find a writer or to find material. So do your research. The way you do that is if you don't have it yet, get an IMDb Pro subscription and see who these people are. What are they working on? What have they worked on? Who are they working with? Does it seem like they're actually actively engaged in the business? And if that is the case, then you can take a shot that way. Another way is
Hang on, let me just interject. So you want to avoid the word former.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking on those sites, like you said, Stage 32, Roadmap, right? They give you the bios of these people. If the person is a former executive, former anything, forget it.
Get it.
They're just doing it to make the kickback, the money. They don't care, right? They need to pay their rent. This is what they're doing. We're working with a producer on a project right now, Tanya, who makes a chunk of his dough doing that. I'm not going to mention this person's name. Good guy, but hey, hasn't like legit worked in a while. But what can you say? The other thing, by the way, just to add to that, those pitches cost money, 35 or 45 bucks a pop, depending on which site. I forget which one is which. I know one is 35, one is 45. So just kind of keep in mind that while it's great to get like 10 minutes face to face with an actual exec, it can be invaluable if you pitch really well and you present really well. Set aside a little bit of budget for that before you begin that, because that can add up fast. Okay, sorry, Tanya, go ahead.
But yeah, so it comes down to research. Just really look into these people. So do not waste your money. Next thing is, since you now hopefully have your IMDb Pro subscription, make a list of people that might be interested in your material. What producers are producing this type of genre in this type of budget range? And then, again, cold queries are very difficult. Like 98% of cold queries simply never go anywhere. However, then you still have like the 2% of queries that might make a difference. And, somebody might say, hey, yes, send it to me. I'll take a look because the last movie that sounds exactly like this movie made me a ton of money. So, again, do your research. And the same is true for querying, for example, managers. Look who their clients are. Do they have clients that are that they're making money off of, that are similar to you? And then shoot them a query. Again, 98% of cold queries don't go anywhere. And that brings us to the Page Awards. If you had won the Page Award, that would be fantastic because that would give you something to say. The Page Awards are, Hollywood Industrial approved. So if you had won it, that's great. Semifinalists, maybe not so much.
That's the first thing I was thinking was, while those bona fides that this person presented, that sounds good, and it shows they obviously have some talent and they're on the right track. And like you said, action comedy is marketable right now. It doesn't mean that the script is there. Well, lots of times the way people in the industry think is, why would I bother reading a semifinalist when I can read the finalists and the top 10 or just the winners? Like that basically says to me, there's 100 scripts that these people thought were better than yours. So, so keep that in mind. You may not be there yet with the script. I mean, look, it may be. You never know. You never know who's going to read your script and if their opinion is right or whatever. But we always counsel people to make sure the script is absolutely tight enough to bounce quarters off of the damn thing before you start your potentially very expensive marketing phase.
Follow-up question. What if you were a finalist? Would you recommend them saying they were a finalist or no?
Yep, finalist is good. If it's a noteworthy contest or something, because that's generally what, like top 50 or could be less, something like that.
It also depends. I mean, we have in another video, we've talked about the notable contests. So if it's one of the like, hey, if you're a nickel finalist, great,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, in fact, that was in part 1, the one we just finished.
Yep.
Couple more ways to get yourself out there, and I don't know anything about them, but there's a website called Spec Scout. You can check them out. Virtual Pitch Fest, which allows you to send query letters to people for a fee. Again, like Tanya said, do your research. A lot of the people on their list are kind of bogus and just doing it for the kickback. But quite a few of the people on there are real. So, vet them well. They got a big list, like 300 people, and for like $10 a pitch. And it's not really a pitch. It's really like we send your query to people and we guarantee you a response, even if that response is no thanks. But still, it's a great, fast, relatively inexpensive way to reach people you're trying to reach.
And I mean, the other thing that people often forget about when it comes to getting their work out there is networking. Network. You don't know where the door will open or the window will open or the chimney will open. But basically, for example, we're working with a producer now on one of our scripts, and we met him on a panel.
Yeah.
It was a horror panel. And I mean, he's done a fantastic job packaging. Scripts packaged. We've got UTA raising funds for it. Yay, great. So fantastic find. Didn't know that would happen. We just were on a panel. That's it.
Right. And we have a meeting next week with a director who we also met at a film festival just a few months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely networking. So there's plenty of ways to get your stuff out there. Just buyer beware. And also we have to mention Blacklist because they're sort of like the big kahuna in this space. I think everybody has this idea that if they get an 8 or above on Blacklist, that's like, hey, you're good. But the truth is, as I was just as we were telling to Jeri before we started rolling film here, we have a client who got a 9 on Blacklist a few years back, who wound up getting a consider in Get Rep Now. So we elevated this person to our manager panel. This person got no play off of Blacklist just by itself. His was the most downloaded script for 3 weeks in a row on Blacklist. He got I think it was 60 real industry people reading his script. Nothing. Not an email, not a phone call, nothing. But where it did become of value was when this guy got the consider from Get Rep Now, and I went out to our manager panel and I said, hey, here's this guy. He's got this great script. We love it. He got a consider from us. And by the way, he also got 9s on Blacklist and was #1 downloaded script for 3 weeks in a row. So that validation pushed several of those managers to jump on that thing, and he got signed fast. So there you go. I think that answers that question, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay, great.
Okay. Next question. Marcus85 writes, Hey folks, so here is my question. I live in Chicago and I work as an account manager, but I also box. I have an idea for a script about a boxer. What do you guys think of that idea? My friend who reads scripts for another coverage company says Rocky casts a long shadow, but that seems crazy because Creed is doing just fine.
Well, Creed is part of the Rocky long shadow. I mean,
That's true.
I mean, your friend is right. Rocky does cast a very long shadow, and since with Creed now it's the Rocky universe, so that is a very, very long shadow, and so it's very difficult because whatever you do will be compared to that. So it's very difficult to do that while bringing something new to the table. So
Exactly. That's exactly what I would recommend, Tanya, as well. If it's just another, like we were talking about in part one with the sports stories, if it's just another underdog, making good in this time through boxing, like, yeah, we've seen that movie. And, sure, it was however many years ago, 50? I don't know, it's like 50 years ago was
late
Rocky. I don't know.
70s, the first Rocky, right? It was like 79.
76, I think. But yeah, it's like 50 years.
50. Wow.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
it's same thing like Star Wars. It's like these things become so iconic that even if it's 50 years old, you can't make another movie that's similar to Star Wars without it seeming like a knockoff. But
Mhm.
look, that doesn't mean you can't make a good boxing movie. Maybe it's boxing combined with another genre, throw some crime element in there. Hey, you mentioned what do you say? He's an account executive or
Account
something?
manager. Account manager.
Account manager, right? So maybe that's interesting. Maybe there's a story in there about this guy who everybody thinks is one thing, but at night he goes to the gym and he gets into just like whatever you can do to make it different from what we expect from a boxing movie
Right.
might give you a way into that material.
That sounds good. Okay. Next question. Celeste asks, can you give me a no bullshit answer, please? I've
Yes, we
got some
can.
I've got some money saved and I want to produce my movie. It's a romantic drama. My budget comes in at $27,000 all in, and I have friends from school who will be the crew. I have been to a bunch of film festivals and I've seen a lot of good movies and some bad ones too. I don't think I've ever seen any of those movies get distribution. So my question is, am I throwing my money away?
Look, so
We're
here's the
all
thing.
laughing.
The no bullshit answer is there's always a good chance that that is exactly what's going to happen. It just is. However, there are ways you can minimize the odds of losing all of your money and maximize the odds of actually making some money back. So the first question you have to ask yourself is why am I doing this? Because that will also it will depend on the answer of how you're going to go about doing it. So if your answer is I am doing this because as an investment in my career, because I think this will open doors for me, because I will have something to point to, then okay, then it's an investment in your career, and if you're going to make your money back, it's not going to be as important. However, if the answer is I am doing this so I can make my money back and make more movies, then that will be, more crucial that you're actually doing it in a very business-like manner and in the most marketable manner possible. Or third possibility, I'm doing this because the theme is so important to me and I want to get it out there. Then that's another way as well. And in that way, you're going to find your audience first, and you're going to engage with your audience first, which is what's happening a lot these days, where thematic movies go out there and find their audience, and the person is already involved in these communities, and these
Yep.
communities not only become your, let's say, kickstarters or indiegogos, these communities will also be your intended audience and will flock to
The
the
base.
movie and spread the word. So however, the person said 27,000 is the budget.
Yep. 27,000.
Okay. Okay, so that's good. That's a great low budget. You can, cash in all of your favors that you have. And yes, so again, one of the ways to do that is build your audience, go out there. I mean, you don't have to get distribution. If you can get distribution, fantastic. However, getting distribution is not the only way to make your money back. You can act as your own distributor. And if you're good with social media and with marketing, then, then you have the like iTunes, Amazon, self-distribution option. And if you actually can funnel people to your movie, then you don't necessarily need a distributor.
It's a good point.
Fantastic answer, but you missed one thing.
What?
My answer to this question comes down to the script.
Well, yes.
How do you
Good point.
ensure you don't lose your money? The script. The script has got to be bomb. That's it. If the script is look, and everything else as well, like the performances, the directing,
Lighting, the sound.
yeah. But really the script. Look, a great script can overcome so many other problems. Ultimately, like even if the film is a quote unquote failure, whatever, you don't make your money back, you lose your money, right? But even if that happens, if you get seen, if you get into a lot of festivals, that potentially can open doors for you. You can meet contacts that could potentially help take your career to the next level just by who you meet. That happened to Tanya and I with our movie 10 years ago, how we wound up meeting a producer we wound up working with on our next movie. Even though nothing really happened with that first movie, it was good enough to get the attention of that producer who produced our next movie. It could be a calling card for you that you can send the link to people like, hey, here's my movie. It played at such and such festival. Hopefully you've garnered a few awards, and that can help you as well. And then maybe, that person you query might actually deign to watch your movie. But it comes down to the script. Make sure that the script is tight as it can possibly be before you shoot a frame. So many people rush into production, just like, they got the money, they've got the personnel, let's do this. That's great. Have you taken the time to develop the script? And lots of people lie to themselves, like, oh yeah, I sent it in, I got coverage. Yeah, it came back good. Like, what is good? Pass, consider with reservations? Yeah. Like,
Good.
that's not good. That's not good. Consider with reservations for script means, okay, there's some talent here, but the script's not there. Consider with reservations for writer means, there's talent here, but if you get a pass on the script or consider with reservations on the script, it means the script could be better. More work is required. Do that, and you might potentially save your $27,000.
Very good point. We have 2 more to go.
All right, let's go.
Okay. Robin asks, I'm writing a faux true crime documentary with horror type elements. The classic hero's journey does not fully apply to this type of storytelling, although the classic 3-act structure, of course, does. Are there any resources that focus on documentary writing that I can learn from?
Okay, so the first thing that actually comes to mind is that faux documentaries were quite big like a few years ago, simply because they can actually be made on a budget. However, people seem to have gone away. The market seems to have moved away from faux documentaries. So that's the first caution that I want to throw out there. And when it comes to documentary...
Wait, Tanya, why do you think that is?
Why people have moved away from faux documentaries?
Yeah.
Well, I think because once the novelty wore off, I think people have realized that the storytelling element is not where it needs to be to keep people's interest. Because again, like with many faux documentaries, you end up, because again, mostly people do it to do it on a budget. So often you end up having, a lot of talking heads, and it's a faux documentary. So this is not like a real story that I care about. It's fictional. However, it is fictional, but it doesn't have what I expect from a fictional story, which is, the story arc, the character arc, the storytelling elements that I expect from fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the person asks, are there any resources that focus on documentary writing that they could learn from?
Geez, I don't actually know the answer to that. Not that I
Stump
know of.
them, yes.
Yeah.
Not that I know of would be the answer. The only thing that I could say it would be to watch other examples out there that do this successfully and with pen and paper in hand.
Yes.
And just make notes along the way, like, oh, this they did this here. So then you could basically form a structural template.
Yeah, and a little hack when you're doing that, it helps watching with the sound off. So watch it with the sound off and just make note of what scene comes after what scene without, listening to what people are saying. So in other words, are they doing talking head, talking head, talking head, or are they doing talking head and now we're showing something else, or now we've got a reenactment, or now we've got whatever, B-roll footage. So so it will be easier to actually make notes of those if you're watching it without the sound.
Yeah, let's put this out to let's put this out to the comments. And anybody watching, any of you guys, if you do know any resources or have any advice on this topic, please share.
Yeah.
Please put them in the comments. We'd love to find out about them.
Yeah, one more question.
Okay.
Michelle asks, you guys always talk about how we should up the caliber of our writing to make our script stand out, such as using meanders or strolls instead of the word walking. Are there any books or authors in general you recommend reading to improve this skill set?
Well, when it comes to, literally when it comes to improving your vocabulary, the first person that comes to mind is Harlan Ellison. So,
that's a good answer.
So basically we're talking about the craft of writing in general, as opposed to the craft of screenwriting.
Correct. They just meant favorite authors or authors that you would read the prose and oh, I love the way that person writes, and think then apply it to screenwriting.
So Tanya's answer is spot on, and I would add any writers that you particularly love, the way that they turn a phrase, just pay real attention to while you read, or give a beloved book a reread, because you already know the story, you already know the characters. Now you can focus more on just the craft, and you can steal from that. I'll be honest, a lot of my technique that I still use to this day, I stole from William Goldman, as did probably 70%.
Most people, most screenwriters.
It's good.
Anybody who came up in the day, 80s, 90s, like me, that's where you learned, because there weren't a lot of resources at the time. But, William Goldman not only was a fantastic screenwriter, he also wrote novels. I read every single one of William Goldman's novels. They're all fantastic. Even the bad ones, they're fantastic. It's just the way he uses words. Marathon Man, Princess Bride, so much great stuff, and so much about the way to phrase things, the way to surprise people. That's a big one. Always having a surprise in store. Give people a certain amount of information and then blow it up and make you go, oh, I didn't know that was where we are, or I didn't know that's what was going on, or I didn't know this person's spying on them in the background. And that piece of information takes it to another level. But I'm going to give you one resource here, Jeri, that I can point people to, a little bit of shameless self-promotion, and that is our own CI spec format and style guide, because we do actually talk about, voicey writing and word choice and things like that in the style guide. It's not all about that. It's mostly about how to best format your script for the best possible presentation. But it also has a lot of tips for exactly, what you were just talking about, as well as, self-editing, brevity, marketability, just all around. And, I'll put a link to that in the description. It's on the Coverage Inc. website, and it's like, I think $5, $4.95 for a 125 page ebook that I wrote. So there you go.
Smile.
Is that all you got, Jeri?
Yep, that's it. That's all for this time.
Woo! All right, folks. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you got anything out of this, please hit that like button, subscribe, and the notification bell. Don't forget that, because that tells the algorithm that we exist. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you in the next video.